Si no me ve. Pero joder. Toma por culo. ¿Qué haces? ¿Un normal? Toma por culo.
I cannot enter.
Por ahí no hay nada. Ahí está. Anda. A ver qué coño me encuentro.
This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail. First, let's find this Petrescu fellow.
¿Se guarda o no se guarda? Pero me gusta más el otro trabajo. Coño, le pega un tiro.
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert.
Sí, o le pega un
Remember it.
tiro.
Now bugger off.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything. It ain't me.
All right. Perhaps the poor drunk just confused you with someone else.
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Goodbye, young man.
I won't end up another drunk arsehole littering the streets. Not me.
Bloody heart, boy. What?
Shooting a boy in the middle of a street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you
¿Con
say?
quién se le ve la cara?
You saw what happened. Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer.
Claro.
And no one can help me. Not even you.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up rough.
Su hijo.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
Qué horror.
You
Le
don't
he
have
dicho que era
anywhere
su
to
hijo.
go. No family that would welcome you.
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben.
Un nombre.
Ben the Tramp.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just failed me last nerve.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar, a coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up.
Hostia, que me lo ha dicho.
Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
It's a pity that doctors still practice such barbaric methods. It's a dishonor to our profession.
Now only the pills stop me thinking about this shit. To not hear the explosions. I'm even scared of the dark these days.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Not me.
Dicho adiós por ahora, no volveremos a ver.
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now piss off.
No entiendo, me dice pista y aquí tengo
Goodbye, young man.
puta mierda.
I'll not die in some piss-stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lavvy. I won't end up another drunk arsehole littering the streets. Not me.
Que aparece y desaparece la mierda de la ventana esa, yo no sé, amarilla esa de ahí dentro.
Science fails you. This elixir will give you faith again.
It's all a bloody joke to you, isn't it? Stealing drugs from the sick and suffering.
Its effectiveness has been proven by
Good
many.
evening, Benjamin.
Even
Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reed.
Tan
A
rápido
gun,
ha ido.
alcohol, and a bad
Total.
temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
you have the money.
Eso para la lluvia no sirve de una puta mierda, porque no cubre
When
nada.
science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Sí, con el Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Agua con azúcar.
Really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Qué zorro más tieso.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Que no sirve de nada, hija de puta.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems
Yeah.
she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
Como tú.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Que yo voy a comprar. ¿Qué dices?
All the
Good evening, my dear colleague.
Goodbye, Miss Swanborough. Perhaps we'll talk again.
Vida.
Gangs are ruining this neighborhood, if you ask me.
Pues madre mía,
It's
la verdad.
locked.
La Y. Es una mano normal.
Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for piece of money.
Can't you just look the other way this week, Joe? Come on, we can sort it out, right?
It's not my call, Barrett. You pay one way or another.
Please, Joe. How long have we known each other? We even used to be neighbours, for Christ's sake.
I'd prefer not to give you another beating, Barrett.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off.
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what you do around here?
I'll do whatever I
Sí, que te
want,
importa, cotilla.
sometimes even more. Now sod off.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
I should never have taken up my father's business. Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you
Tiene
a
una
few
cara
questions,
tonto.
if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
Tendrá que ver.
How is business around here?
Business?
Pues mal.
I had no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
Porque le da la
No secret
paliza.
Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Se ha dicho que te ha dado una
Violence is
paliza.
increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
So she's trying to help her fellow immigrants. Why would that make her a villain?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu.
Porque no están
Came
de
to England
manera.
fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious nurse Crane gives away medical
Sí,
supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane
La
wanted to
enfermera
play
no
the
puede
quiet
dar
saint.
recetas.
Right then. Show me what you have.
Pues nada que me interese, la verdad.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
Luis.
I know
¿Dónde
it's
está el
hard to
doctor?
believe, but this district has always been wretched. Don't let your guard down, sir.
You again? What do you want this time?
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job
Para
I've
copy.
found. And it pays well too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think,
Sí,
sir.
claro.
I do what I have to do for my own reasons. And that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would
Sí.
agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
A ver, si la pista sirve de algo.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you?
Venga, coño.
Joe Peterson. He's the villain here, isn't he? But you seem to know each other.
I'd known Joe for years. I saw him box once or twice. He was a friend then. But these days, he's just another thug.
What can you tell me about Mr. Peterson? Besides his behavior toward you, obviously.
Colossus Joe was a decent boxer, good one even. But after his wife passed away, he found every excuse to stop training. Just wanted to pick fights with everyone.
Pero lo mismo.
Without making excuses for him, it's safe to say that despair can poison even the sanest mind.
We've all had some rough times, ain't we? But most of us don't use our fists to see us through.
And no one has ever stood up to this thug.
Nobody would be fool enough to stand against a wet boot boy.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
Cheap price, good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid. Cheap price, good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.
You look so pale, my lord. Would you like me to revive you?
Oh,
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor. Dr. Reed.
All right then, but
eso
be
se paga más
quick,
caro.
though I usually get paid when I open
Oh.
my mouth.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed. Or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
You
Madre
can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
Sí, a ella
Do
que le
you think that
importa.
would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Eso pienso yo.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Anything you can tell me about her would be helpful.
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crasionescu.
Mira,
She
eran
came from
amiguitas.
Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel. Everyone should respect that.
Os he dicho que no te gustan los médicos ni los hospitales ni nada de nada.
Tell me about yourself.
Are
No te voy a
you
contar
joking
nada.
with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
Madre mía, los planos de atrás. Están cortados, se mueven fatal.
I'm sure you could have found another job, perhaps less lucrative. Maybe you should try again.
And when exactly was the last time you looked for a job? Or worried about the rent, or what, or when you were going to eat?
Eso digo yo. Fácil hablar.
Goodbye, miss. Take care of yourself as best you can.
Mira los matorrales. Madre mía. Dos planos en perpendicular mal puestos que se incrustan. ¿Se puede entrar en la iglesia?
should
Bueno,
not be your main concern. The disease upon us is not an accident of nature, but the punishment of a divine will.
claro que sí. Mira los planos de mierda. Es que están tan mal puestos. ¡Ah! El cementerio.
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed,
No
and I
mortal,
just have a
entre
few
comillas.
questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Gilipollas.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor,
Presunta.
you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called
La cruz no se
Spanish
mueve.
flu is just the beginning of
Sí.
What do you mean?
Comienzo
The
de fin,
beast
siempre dicen
is
eso.
finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No,
What is left then?
cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias, What exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
No me caí para atrás.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition. Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
Dios.
Have you any friends?
No.
Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my
Sí.
son. He's
Su
so
novio.
devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Venga, vamos a guardar y ya está, porque las vueltas que estoy dando. Uy, hay más cositas por aquí. Esto.
It's locked, all right.
Miedo. Qué chocadera. Ya me he recorrido casi todo el mapa. ¿Cómo se ha movido? A guardar.
Leave me alone.
Good evening,
Leave me
sir.
alone.
I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go
Yo te
bother
como.
someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to. There's
Otra vez.
nobody here.
Está vacío, dice. Está en el patio.
I cannot enter.
It's luck. A ver qué bicho me encuentro, joder. Me ha comido. ¡Hala! A correr, hijo de la gran puta. Hay un lobo nivel 10. Joder. No tengo por culo.
Step away, sir. Don't come closer! Steady, boy! Back in the ground!
¡Hijos de puta! no saben, se van a ver respawneado todos. ¿Dónde coño estoy? Allá vamos a estar.
It's on to us! Don't like that, do ya? He's dead!
Mata entre ellos. Qué maravilla. Porque suena así.
Joe, please, I don't have your money.
Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for peace of mind.
Coño. Coño, qué miedo. Hay uno de 12 ahí.
This could be the box Lewis thought he lost. A love letter from Joe Peterson's wife addressed to Barrett Lewis. Who should I give it to, I wonder?
A nadie. A ver qué coño hace. Ay, me ha comido. Joder. Ya está. ¿Cómo se supone que investigo ese gilipollas? No se le ven los pies. Ay, aquí hay un hombre. Ay, 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 me cago en la leche. Me cago en la leche. Y eso, que se separen. Se tiene una leche de mierda. Madre mía, tú has visto. No está ni riado. ¿Quién anima en esa posición tan artificial? Y un montón. Sí, tú ven solo, gilipollas. solo.
We have to stop it!
Cómetele, cómetele. Se los caen las cosas al morir, pero no mientras luchan. Interesante. Y sus armas no puede cogerlas. Interesante también. Aquí ya he estado. Hay un bebé que llora. No hay nada. Solo papeleras de mierda. Poder. Qué rápido va así, Ahora no me deja. Hijos de puta. Imagino que habrá algo para subirse, porque si no... Voy donde el cura.
I should never have taken up my father's business.
Against malevolence and trickery. You are blinded by your
A ver qué hay por aquí. Nivel 10. Voy a pillar bicho asqueroso. ¿Cuántos hay, hijos de puta? Tengo que dividirlo porque si no... Me ha comido. Sí, bueno. Venga ya. Joder. Estás muerto, hijo de la gran puta. Venga ya, me va a matar. Otra vez. Muerto. Anda, que bien baila. Ahí te quedas. Por culo, gilipollas. Aquí hay un muerto. Aquí hay otro muerto. ¿Dónde está el otro? No lo encuentro. Ah. Coño. Por orden del Lord Regente. Cementerio. Psst. Desconocido, vamos a ver quién eres. ¿Qué hace aquí con los muertos? Puto loco. Madre mía, la vuelta que estoy dando. ¿Dónde está? Cállate.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really?
Loco.
Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
¿Quién pasa por ahí?
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear Doctor.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much. And that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be
Sí, lo que quiere es explorarlo.
of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives?
Como un psicópata.
Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by
Dios.
gaslight, the barren
Joder.
smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such
Saca del juego.
vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox. The stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Madre mía, conversación interminable que no lleva a ningún sitio.
You don't really make a living from your scribblings, do you,
Hijo de
Richard?
puta.
No, sir, I don't. I work so hard. I put all my time, my energy, my devotion into the precise carving of words.
Cabrones.
Still, you don't seem to suffer from poverty.
With thanks to my parents, actually. I'm afraid I would not be able to live on my own without their help.
You seem embarrassed.
Someday I hope to proudly offer my first publication to my parents. Until that day, I'll remain the failure of a son they have to support.
Exagerado.
I'll leave you alone, sir.
Joder. Coño, muévete, hostias. A ver, ¿esta quién es? La Camellia.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly.
Es muda.
I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia. Very well. Goodbye then.
Muérdela, lloras. Si estás enfermo, si no tienes dinero. Lo mismo que antes. Nueva pista.
Hello again, miss.
¿Por qué tarda tanto?
Camellia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever.
Me han cortado la lengua. Es que lo
Very
escriba.
well. Goodbye then.
Y me lo como. Es que por aquí... Otra más. It's locked. ¿Este quién es?
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Madre mía.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at
La gafa no las
night?
tiene
I've had to
apoyadas.
run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever.
Solo.
Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
That science is unable to explain the facts doesn't mean there is no rational explanation.
I confess, I share your point of view, Doctor.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
Qué pollez. No voy a decir nada. Pero vamos. Que os esclavizaron a todos.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
Dicen que no publica lo de la epidemia y están los carteles por todos sitios.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Christina Popper claims she sells her body because she can't find any other work. Do you believe her?
Of course I do. Her story is exactly what I want my readers to understand. We live in an intolerant and divided nation.
Do you think things will ever change, Mr. Darby?
I believe the situation can only improve. And now that women can vote, I'm convinced things will change.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby.
Adiós.
Farewell.
A ver cuándo puedo con este.
Pay
Esta es
me
la
a glass
botella.
and I'll be gentle. Pay me a bottle and I'll...
Ya se ha pillado. Ah,
I cannot enter.
coño, hijo de puta.
It's locked. Hello again, miss. Very well. Goodbye, then.
Sé que era que han ido a follar. Han dicho investigación ciudadana y ahora qué. Hijos de puta. Se la había matado.
It's one of them! He's too fucking fast!
It's locked, all right.
Coño puedo entrar aquí si no hay absolutamente nada. La papelera de mierda. Joder.
I'll not die in some piss-stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lappy.
I have this thirst for blood. This is despicable.
Qué miedo.
It's locked.
when science fails you. This elixir...
No hay nada para subir. No hay nadie.
Nobody at home.
La tira abajo.
I cannot enter.
Si no hay nada por aquí. No sé por qué se regenera. No hay nada. Yo no entiendo.
Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.